Guess what? It's complicated. You know what's not
Yeah.
complicated? The pool noodle. You know how great the pool
Yep.
noodle is doing, man? Doing fantastic. Multi-billionaire by now, I'm sure. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us here today. We have a very special interview lined up for you guys as we sit here with the Chief Operating Officer of Phunware, Randall Crowder, and the topic today is Phuntoken. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about financial versus crypto markets. We're going to go through a whole slew of stuff. Randall, how are you? Are you ready to get into it, man?
I'm doing well, Michael. Appreciate you having me.
Perfect.
Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you on, man. So we've actually worked together for a while in the past. This is the first time you and I have really got to go mano a mano and have a long conversation. So first and foremost, for everybody watching here who have no idea about Phuntoken, give me the real elevator pitch and then give me that tie into Phunware too.
Yeah, honestly, I know we got a little bit more time today. I want people to not tune out yet. So first I want to talk about Phunware, and then we're going to talk about why Phuntoken is a natural extension of Phunware. So Phunware is a publicly traded company. So when you're looking for what is your differentiator, why are you different than every other, crypto project out there, you start there. We're not a crypto project. We're a real U.S. publicly traded company that happens to have launched the very first, digital asset ecosystem that anybody's ever seen. We're the first public company to ever do it. And so I think to understand what that is, you need to go back and understand what Phunware is. And so we've been doing this for 13 years, and this is defining mobile ecosystems. So we built the first WWE mobile app. We built the first NASCAR mobile app. We built the first NFL mobile app, all of Fox's mobile application portfolio, the Sochi Olympics, you name it. We've worked on some of the largest mobile ecosystems on the planet with some of the most well-defined brands. And all of that, and kind of really the sports media and entertainment, what we call the passion verticals, was designed around better engaging consumers. How do these large brands capture the mind share and ideally a portion of someone's wallet through a mobile device? They were one of the very first industries to understand what the power of mobile was going to become. And remember that mobile is not something that's been around for that long. We started the company back in 2009. In 2009, less than 3% of internet content was consumed on mobile. You fast forward to today, it's more like 90%, and the vast majority of that is native mobile applications. So we live in a mobile-first world that's quickly becoming mobile-only. And Phunware, the publicly traded company, ticker symbol on NASDAQ is PHUN, Phunware helped define that. We helped draft some of the guidance for the original App Store. We were one of the first publishers allowed to publish to it. And so over the last 10 years, we've gotten very good at building enterprise mobile ecosystems that did not fail at scale.
Yeah.
So we said, okay, where do we go from here?
Let me hop in for just a second. I want to point out one of the most interesting things here is the real beauty of this is essentially you grabbed these companies all had very large user bases that were largely passive, right? I mean, when it comes down to it, a lot of it was you click and you watch something on TV, but the fan base was there. So it was ready to be captured, and you guys essentially gave them something to do to better interact so they benefit from it. And obviously the company benefits from it too. And essentially it's just a much better nurturing process than the passive processes that was of the past, like just watching it on television, for instance.
What's interesting is what you're saying actually almost holds even more truth today. And it's actually another competitive advantage we have. And so I would argue today, still people look at this like a big content consumption engine. Even when you're trying to give them reasons to engage, review this film, make these comments, do these things. Most people just jump on here, power stream Netflix or argue with somebody about, mask mandates on social media, if they even want to engage. More often than not, they're just looky-loo voyeurs scrolling through, seeing what other people are saying, and there is no engagement. And so one of the things that we started doing along the way was thinking, how can we drive that engagement? So Phunware early on built some of the best location software in the world. So when you think about a mobile ecosystem, you have what's presented to the customer, what the design and actually the flow of the mobile application. But if you really look at this, this is a powerful computer that just happens to be location aware and happens to be always connected to a network typically. And now increasingly always in the palm of our hands, right? So one of the things we did early on was we won Kaiser Permanente's business by beating Google because of our location software. It was hey, if you know a little bit about mobile, could you use all that know-how to triangulate a mobile device indoors the same way that you would maybe use GPS and satellites outdoors to find somebody? Because think about that idea of engagement. As we start progressing towards what we call contextual engagement, like how do I get the right information to the right person on the right screen at the right time in the right place to drive productivity or profitability? I got to find you. Like maybe I have the best software in the world to engage you, but sometimes time and place matters. So if I'm in a stadium and I'm trying to sell you merchandise, knowing that you're walking past the merchandise stand on the way to the bathroom, that's the opportune time to try to sell you something versus, you got, 2 minutes left in the game and you're cheering on your team and they're in the red zone. You're not going to sell me anything at that moment. So contextuality matters. And so we designed location software to do just that. Industry, basically hardware agnostic, platform agnostic, and go inside a smart venue that we've enabled, and we can give you a sub 1 meter accuracy, sub 1 second latency, real-time blue dot. Wow. Very hard to do. And so whether it's high low density Wi-Fi, BLE, beacons, doesn't matter. We take all that signal strength and we can use it to triangulate a mobile device. That's going to be table stakes going forward. So that just exactly what you said, that engagement stops being passive and starts being proactive, but proactive from your phone's perspective. So rather than you walking into a massive Vegas casino and thinking, gosh, I wonder what I should be doing right now, or where should I go, or trying to load a map, or trying to find the check-in desk, or did you even park in the right garage, or are you in the right tower? Your phone springs into action. So it's no longer, hey, Siri. Your phone is like saying, hey, Michael, let me give you some information that's going to make your life better right now. And so that's what our platform, basically up until maybe 2017, was designed to do. It was, I have great mobile software that you can license from us that will engage your consumers better. We have full features integrated into every single optimization we have, whether it's location software, content management, analytics, everything you would ever need to kind of run your business. And then blockchain came along. And so anytime, take a step back for a second, what do people always ask when it comes to like crypto? They're always like, what can you do with it? And, let's be honest, nobody does anything with any of their crypto other than put it in a wallet somewhere and hope that it's worth more tomorrow than it is today.
Speculation.
And so nobody's exactly. But people always want to know what's the promise, because that's that's the cocktail talk. That's what gets people excited. And so you say, what could it do one day? But I always say, whenever you're thinking about, investing in something, buying something, doing something, what's the, one, who are the people behind it? And then really, is there a good product market fit? And when you're dealing with crypto, you kind of got to ask, why blockchain? Like, it's a little bit more complicated. It's a little bit more risky. It's a little bit newer. So are you just chasing a fad, or does it actually bring something to the table that you specifically need? And I would argue 90%, 95% of everything that people see out there right now does not need blockchain to do what it's doing.
I think
it's just people are trying to chase a fad.
I think largely what it is people are essentially solutions looking for problems a lot of times.
Exactly.
In the cryptoverse. Like you got Bitcoin. It's like, okay, the first real digital currency on the blockchain. You got Ethereum. Okay, first smart contracts. Okay, good to go. Yep. It's like BNB, okay, first exchange token that provided, going back to that idea, real utility, and started putting in buybacks and so on to pump its price. Okay, it's like, that's kind of a security to some degree, but you know what? Okay, there's at least a case there. And then from there, it's like, okay, well, this is another smart contracts thing. Okay, this is DeFi. Ooh, that just went down 99.99%. Okay.
Well, and a lot of those drops happen. I mean, look, at the end of the day, the right thing to say for a lot of this stuff, especially, let's be honest, a lot of things that are in the market today are illegal securities. Now, will the SEC ever, come after some of these folks? Some of them have gotten very good at hiding. Some of them have, not sold to the U.S. to try to avoid, the SEC coming after them. But there is a more compliant way of going about leveraging digital assets. Everyone loves a big boogeyman. Guess what? The U.S. is not going to get rid of crypto. And they're not going to make it so hard for crypto to be in the U.S. because they know they'll just push it overseas and then they won't control it at all. And that's what's already kind of begun to happen. So they're trying to wrestle with, all right, can we approach this in a more sustainable way? And this is the same thing that happened in the dot-com boom. There were so many scams in the late 90s and people either cashing out or flaming out. And then what happened was this really great professionalization of the internet in the early 2000s, where you had Google AdWords come out and all of a sudden people realized, okay, I can use a PC and advertising to connect brands and consumers, and I can now make money, and I can also sell more stuff. And it just kind of went up into the right from there.
Yeah.
Same thing's going to happen in crypto. You're going to have cash out, flame out, and then you're going to have a professionalization of it. And that's what we want to lead. It is, okay, we can't rug pull you. We can't scam you. We can't cheat you. And we've got to do this as compliantly as possible because we're a U.S. publicly traded company. Yeah. We are accountable to our shareholders. I can't disappear. I can't cheat you. I can't lie. Yeah. I'll go to jail. So this is one of those things that the industry needs, because I think the future of crypto rests with real companies solving real problems in the real world. Yeah. And that's a little bit, unpopular because everybody's drinking the Kool-Aid right now. Everybody loves decentralization. Look, I love decentralization, but guess what? A lot of people loved communism, and the execution is pretty shitty, and all the examples of it are pretty horrible. And so, but on paper, it paints this Shangri-La utopian experience where nobody wants for anything. And then you see it in execution and you're like, oh, I don't want that. I'm not trying to leave the U.S. I love capitalism. I'm a greedy capitalist.
Yeah, that's
and
fair
so
enough.
With crypto,
even as like a pretty staunch opposer of communism, I'm
me too.
In general, I think it's important just to be more fair. Our ideals tend to blind us of the pragmatic decisions you need to actually make with your life instead of throwing everything you got at blind ideals. And the decentralization idea is great. It's beautiful. It sounds nice. You don't need a middleman for this and that. That's all fun and games until somebody who's just a little smarter than you cracks your code and you have no money. So, or you say you just send it to the wrong person, which I've known people who've sent hundreds of thousands of dollars over crypto to the wrong person, and it's done.
And there's nothing you can do. Honestly, but that what you said, and you can always tell when people have been around, for longer. And I always say, if you haven't been scammed, you haven't been through a couple crashes, you're still new to this market. But once you've kind of experienced this, you can kind of laugh at it. I mean, it's not a laughing matter, but I'm with you. You almost have to laugh at it because it's so daunting sometimes. But this happens with every great innovation. So like my issue with decentralization, and you hit it, is decentralization is a powerful ideal, but where it presents itself so often right now is just leaderless projects. You have a couple people that have never met all over the world coming together on a Google Drive to pretend like they've created a company, and they've done nothing that's required to run a company. When we first started started thinking about what we were going to do with, blockchain and kind of the late, kind of 2017 timeframe, and I'll tell you, now we'll get to Phuntoken and tell you exactly how it came to be. We've tried to partner with very well-known ecosystems, and you start to peel back the layers and you're like, the turnover is crazy. There's no attention to detail. There's no professional organization behind it. Nobody can get anything done. There's no sense of urgency. And the minute you get one thing done with somebody, they leave and go do something else because there's no organizational rigor behind what they're doing. And that's why they call them crypto projects. And that's why anytime someone calls us a project, we're like, no, we're a real company. And we report to shareholders all over the world. And that means we have to have that organizational rigor in a big way. And it's not just by choice, even though that is the right thing to do. We have to stay listed and remain a publicly traded company.
It's interesting because there's a couple, there's been a couple patterns in the cryptoverse. One, people who have never invested their money, which again, I personally call speculating because they're currencies. People who have never put their money in anything are now putting their money in things. They've never invested in stocks in their life. They have no idea what they're doing. They're in for the ride. And then you have people who have never worked in a company launching projects as well. And I knew one, and I won't name drop, but he had ran a go-kart charity organization and ended up raising like $20 million on a crypto project. And that was his past experience. Obviously, again, going back to flaming out, they're gone. Non-existent. I don't even know.
But I bet that money's spent, and it's like now it's like at least it's funny. I joke about this. I think the SEC would probably love to go back to 2017 when people were just doing ICOs. ICOs at least kind of made sense. I mean, it was literally the venture capital methodology tied to crypto. Now, they were doing it with unaccredited investors, and that's where there was the problem, and they didn't have anything, and that was the problem. But now it's just NFTs. It's just like people don't, nobody wants to, call a spade, but look, I'll do it every day. NFTs are just a convenient way to skirt securities regulations. It's brilliant. It's really, really smart. But guess what? It's just skirting securities regulations by saying, okay, now I have this asset, so now it's not an illegal security, and I'm not raising money. I'm selling this pixelated picture.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Unless it's Da Vinci, nobody really gives a shit.
Well, I mean, art selling as a way to skirt around things has been a thing forever anyways. You think a lot of that art's worth $30 million? Now look how the money changed hands, man. Peel back
exactly. It's a lot easier to roll up a painting inside of a tube and walk that into a country than, some gold bricks. But, but this thing happens. And I love that. I always say with great disruption comes great opportunity, right? So all of this has to happen. It's got to be messy. It's got to be confusing. It's got to be scammy. And then through that, everyone kind of finds their way. And I think people will find their way to credibility. They'll find their way to accountability. Like, how am I leveraging this technology to do something I couldn't do before? And so for us, what we found is for, over a decade, we got really good at mobile software to engage consumers. And we got really good at location software to find those consumers, to engage them in a contextual way. And then we started realizing that if that engagement is valuable, if that engagement drives productivity or drives profitability, the first thing that might happen is a brand might be willing to pay you to engage, to incentivize that engagement. But when you start thinking about like macro, almost autonomous microtransactions at scale, you don't want to do that with fiat. Crypto actually becomes a very interesting solution to that. And I know because unlike, again, 90% of crypto projects, we're talking to Fortune 500 brands every day. And so we know what our customers want. We know what these large brands want. And this conversation started with Carnival Cruise Lines. So Kathy Mayer sits on our board right now. She was the CMO of Carnival. And she basically said, look, I have all of these passengers coming, and I need to get more juice out of the squeeze. So, okay, well, what does that mean? If you were queen for a day, what would you have your passengers do more of? She said, well, I have a list of about 10 things that drive profitable behavior. But one of the things I really want to do is sell more excursions. Every time a ship leaves port, that's a sunk cost. So the more excursions I sell, the more profit I make. Okay, that makes sense. So how do you do that? When's the best time to sell excursions? Well, I basically, when the ship is leaving port, the day of. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. That's like selling alcohol, in the airport in Vegas. That's an easy sell. Everybody's excited. And so I was like, well, how do you do that? She's like, well, print, signage, or if I have the staff, people will kind of walk around and try to sell one-to-one. I'm like, wow, that is incredibly inefficient and incredibly archaic. Yeah. With our existing platform, we can introduce infomercial-like capability. So we're not even talking blockchain yet. Mm-hmm. So you can introduce infomercial-like capability at the point of sale. And so maybe you're getting out of the parking lot, and maybe you're waiting to board the ship. You're waiting for the safety brief, or you're already in the bar if you're me. And now you get a push notification through the Carnival app, and it says, hey, would you like to see an example of all the amazing excursions you're going to have available to you while you're on your trip? Cool. Maybe you convert, maybe you don't. But this is where Kathy's brain turns on, because she comes from the gaming industry, Sands and Caesars. And so she said, look, there's going to be times where people aren't going to be willing to pay attention to that. Just like I was using the football example earlier in a stadium. She said, we might have a kid crying, wanting to be fed, somebody, trying to, maybe missing luggage, who knows? But I might, look at my numbers, understand my conversion rates, and be willing to pay somebody to watch that video. So instead of just saying, will you watch this video and hope that you will click on this button, I might say for, in this case, 1,000 Phuntoken, will you watch this video on all the amazing excursions you're going to have available to you on your trip? Now I'm trying to actually just incentivize you to watch a video. So what we call that is rewarded video. We could do rewarded surveys. You could ask questions. We could do rewarded points of interest. If someone's going to be, hey, I'd like you to be on time so the ship can leave on time, I'll give you an incentive to show up an hour before so we can get you settled, or I'll give you an incentive to show up to your doctor's appointment.
Let me dive into something real quick there, if I can. So you're talking essentially about gamification, which has essentially been the name of the game with humanity since one of the first things we did was invent games, right? We like to do things. You do something, get a little reward for it. And, it's important to point out that is still significantly more financially, it's better for the company than having someone one-to-one walking out trying to sell these things to people. It's significantly cheaper for the company to do so. It's less invasive to the consumer, one, and it targets them significantly better than a general blanket ad or something.
You said it, so very well, and it is, and that's why we kind of always talk about this idea of contextualization. How do we personalize these interactions, but how do we also adjust them? Because it might not just be excursions. It could be turn down service. It could be, some sort of other hospitality incentive. It could be booking reservations. And even that should depend on who you are. I might be more interested in something that you might try to sell to me than, somebody standing next to me. So how do I autonomously have the machine learning to say, at this time, send this person this message and incentivize them. At this time, send this person this message. You don't need to incentivize them. They're unlikely to buy, but I wanted to give them the information. And you have to have this system running these interactions, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of times contextually in the real world. So how do we take all of the information in the virtual world, curate it, and then use it to inform real world interactions on a one-to-one basis? That's literally what Phuntoken was designed to do. And here's what something's really cool. Because the way we have always built our platform is on software development kits or application program interfaces, all of our technology can live inside of third-party mobile applications because we're a platform. So that location software I was talking about, that location software can live inside of one of our mobile applications that we design, or we can just give, if you had a mobile software for just you and your channel and you wanted to, put location into it for some reason, I could actually integrate my location software into your third-party mobile application, and you would never even know I was there. It was just kind of powered by Phunware, but you would never see that. And so with Phuntoken, we can live inside an app, like for a cruise line, and we can map and track behavior to reward people for their engagement, but we don't have to call it Phuntoken. We could call it Cruise Coin. Yeah. And so we can stay on brand. So think about that from a mainstream adoption standpoint. I can use third-party applications to grab people, and I can get them involved in blockchain without even knowing they're getting involved in blockchain. Somebody who has never touched anything, never had a wallet, never done anything, could watch that video, earn what looks like Cruise Coin, but is actually Phuntoken. So all we're doing is creating a ledger inside of that third-party application about what we're rewarding. And then if they want it, they can either spend it while they're on their cruise. Maybe they want to buy a drink or buy some merchandise. Or if they want to cash out, they can actually be sent to Phunwallet, where you'll see all your loyalty cards and you'll see who you earned from. And you can do whatever you want with it. You can basically convert that to Phuntoken and send that to an exchange, send it to your wallet, do whatever you want, use it for other gamified experiences within Phunwallet. The cool thing about this is, and this is again why most of the cryptoverse doesn't understand this because they don't work with large brands. If you use blockchain, you can now shift custody to the consumer. That's important when you're thinking about loyalty and rewards, because most CFOs of Fortune 500 companies, they hate loyalty and rewards programs because they have to keep them on their books as a liability. With Phuntoken, you don't have to. So I can incentivize behavior, have a blockchain-enabled rewards program, and I don't have to keep it as a liability on my books. That's huge, because like right now, there's CFOs who are willing to sell reward points for 10 cents on the dollar just to remove the liability that they exist. So we're not going to get rid of rewards programs, but we're a really interesting companion program for them. So let's say I'm an airline, I'm Southwest. I can get rapid rewards for buying a plane ticket or buying a hotel. Cool, fine. But you can give a blockchain-enabled, incentivized engagement reward through us, showing up on time, for your flight, checking a bag instead of trying to shove it into overhead storage, doing it, referring a friend, all of those things that you wish people would do. That's what we want to enable, and we want to use blockchain to do it. And so it's a really exciting opportunity to leverage technology for what it's actually meant for. to efficiently address, microtransactions for large macro ecosystems. But, and you said this early on, you've got to be able to save people from themselves if you ever want to actually deal with mainstream adoption. Right now, we are so far from crossing the chasm because of exactly what you described. People are terrified of that fat finger mistake, that black swan event, or someone, hacking or just manipulating something like we saw most recently with, Terra and Luna. And so, unless you can address that, unless you can deal with that kind of, what we do is our own layer 2 scaling methodology. So we can address fraud and security in a layer 2 mechanism that we've developed in our own platform, and then we memorialize on chain. So we give people a little bit of a buffer. And when I say people, it's really brands. If I'm going to risk millions of dollars in my marketing budget on engaging people, I need to know that it's not going to be, attacked by a bunch of bots. I'm not going to be able to drain my wallet that has all my marketing dollars in it. And so we do that all in-house because, we deal with so much security anyways. We did the presidential election last year. We do, large integrated hospital systems. So from HIPAA to SOX to presidential security, we did the Trump application in 2020. I think we had at one point, millions of intrusion attempts every hour. We were never hacked. And so we've gotten very good at security.
I want to point out a little thing there. What's interesting, and not to diverge too much, but crypto exchanges, there was people who attempt to hack into banks and stuff for a living, right? Like it's their job. Hey, let's test security of it. They said the crypto exchanges didn't hold a candle to the security of the tried and true banking stuff. Now that could also be because of the archaic technology used, one, but more importantly, like you said, you're in an industry where it's like, hey, security matters, and we're going into this with some knowledge of security. We're not just, spitballing, bubblegumming our way through this security wise. And that's a really key point. And you also said another thing, which I believe, if you look into the future with your crypto magic ball, is going to be the case. So which people don't need to know they're even interacting with blockchain at all.
Yeah.
The ecosystem needs to be completely behind the scenes. All they need is a nice user interface that incentivizes them and benefits them, and they're good to go. That's all they need to see about it. They don't need to know a single address. They don't need to look at a scan of the blockchain to see where things are going. And then they get all the benefits, like the fact that it's more open ecosystem. They can take it out of this and turn it into Phunware and so on. That's all they are, Phuntoken. That's all they need to know about it. They don't need to know all the small stuff in the background.
Yeah, I think you said so many good points, and that I think if you go to right now, there's a couple different ways people can interact with Phuntoken. So, and we did everything backwards, right? So we didn't need to raise a bunch of money by selling people on a promise. Like think about what most people would do in our case. They would raise a bunch of money, like you said, your friend, raise $20 million, and then tell people they're going to have this roadmap and they're going to build something, and then after 2 years, they would launch a mobile application and everybody be like, woo, they've got a mobile application. They did it. We did that first. We spent our own money to build our own mobile application. So you can download Phunwallet on iOS and Android right now. Now it's just consistent 2-week sprints. We have agile development, and we're just going to start building out, products and features, and it'll just be a part of our natural, movement for the company operationally. And so that product development will just be ongoing forever now. And so that's one of the things you get with a company like ours is we had to do it in a compliant manner. We used our own money to build generation 1. Now all we're doing is selling Phuntoken as basically software. And so we haven't even begun really marketing it yet. We just showed up on Uniswap just recently, but it just happened. We're starting to talk to different centralized exchanges on ones that can actually guarantee us, a certain level of like KYC and doing things correctly, and then making sure that we're compliant in that way. So we'll, do some IEOs here and there. Right now, we have Phuntoken right now, right around the corner, and a few others teed up right now. So that'll help us further decentralize it. Like we want that. Like we understand that there's a market to this stuff, and the more people, the more wallets, the more consumers we can engage. That's all just part of, kind of our go-to-market strategy. But we didn't go out and sell a bunch of very heavily discounted Phuntoken to a bunch of VCs, and they're just waiting for the first exchange listing to dump it. Like we started selling to normal, average crypto enthusiasts You can go to buy.phuntoken.com right now. You can buy it directly. You can go to Uniswap. You can buy, swap it on Uniswap. And, what we're going to do now is just begin to build out additional features, additional use cases. But if you go to like Phuntoken.com, we just launched our new website. It's exactly what you were saying about how do you position this for mainstream adoption. So right now, because we started showing up on Uniswap, and we're the first publicly traded company to have a digital asset on a decentralized exchange, we can't do anything with that. I can't sell into DeFi where they don't KYC, but what I can do is provide resources to help the ecosystem. And so if you go to Phuntoken.com, you click on rewards at the top of it, you'll be able to see our brand new interface. And if you want to provide liquidity, it is absolutely the seamless, most streamlined, Cliff Notes version, for Garanimals to provide liquidity that you've ever seen. So it has walkthrough videos, step by step. It all happens within that single interface, and you can just go step by step. You can learn how to buy Ethereum, buy Phuntoken. How do you pair that? How do you provide liquidity? How do you stake those LP tokens in order to earn more Phuntoken on top of that? And we just make it very, very simple. And I think that's what's needed. Like, there's so many engineers and so many crypto enthusiasts who almost want to show off how smart they are. And they're making things so complicated and scary. And it's never going to go mainstream if it's that scary. It needs to feel like Shopify. It needs to take all of the things that we learned from ecom, apply that to crypto, and make it feel like magic. Nobody cares with the technology that goes into this phone. It's very complicated if anybody understands telecommunications and voice over IP. But all I really want to do is type in a number, and I want the person that I'm trying to reach to be on the other end of the line. That's what we've got to do with blockchain, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Going back to the whole phone metaphor, I don't know if you guys have anyone watching has ever seen the amount of calculations that even just goes into sending one picture message. But it's like calculus, and the formula actually swaps, like reverses as you have to flip the image. So like it's absolutely insane. But guess what? You don't have to know any of that stuff. You just have to go monkey, like type on phone, monkey talk to friend, happy monkey. That's kind of how I look at things. Exactly. I don't know. It's again, it can be a magic box. That's fine. We don't have to know the inner workings of everything behind it. And it is interesting. Going back to not to attack decentralization again, Uniswap. I love Uniswap. I love PancakeSwap, but I'm sure your interface for it would be significantly easier to buy Phuntoken than having to go through all that.
Well, and that's, it's funny, we have these conversations internally, and I ask because there's a little bit of a price difference, so there'll be, whatever it's trading on decentralized exchanges. So right now you can buy Phuntoken, buy.phuntoken.com. The only Phuntoken we've ever sold is at a penny, because that's the cheapest piece of data that you can buy. And so, the price, because there were some bonuses layered in there, the price started trading on Uniswap at like, 0.007. So it accounted for the bonus, because that's people's real cost basis in the deal. Yeah. And so people were kind of asking about that and trying to, think about, all right, how should I think about, price? And well, it's never going to be much different than price. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're thinking because you are very familiar with crypto that you would know how to compare the two. But think about like hotel rooms. You can pay, there's hundreds of dollars of difference in a hotel room per night if you know how to buy hotel rooms or where to buy them from or which platforms buy certain things. Same thing with, I come in the healthcare industry, same thing with imaging. The same, CT scan at this facility might cost you $500 and it might cost you $3,000 over here. And unless you're really educated as a consumer, you won't know that. And because we don't really cover a lot of the price of our healthcare anyway, especially in America, you don't care. You just go and you get whatever it is, and then somebody else has to fit the bill, which, don't even get me started on that. And so when it comes to crypto, there is going to be a lot of mainstream, you can't compare the two, selling directly in kind of an e-com inspired portal that's very easy. You can get in and out in 30 seconds, swipe a credit card, buy crypto. It's a totally different experience than figuring out how to not even buy on Uniswap because remember what you're doing, you're just swapping. Yeah. So like that just, there's going to be,
going to that. Yeah. Honestly, I usually start people off, and this is funny because it goes against, it's like, where do you start people off? Coinbase. Just start them off on Coinbase. Here you go.
Simple.
Just
Yeah.
freaking just go in and then you press buy. You don't need to understand who's asking for what. You don't need to put in a
Yep.
limit order. You don't, if you don't understand any of that, it's okay. You hand them money, you get the thing. And then that right there is already an hour plus of making sure they're doing it right. And then it's like, oh, now you have to send it to a wallet. Ooh, what is a wallet? And it's like, here we get a rabbit hole. And it's like, now it matters, because now if you make a mistake, it's gone. Once it's off Coinbase, you don't know, man. It's in your own hands.
Copy and paste. Do not try to type in those letters. No, there is, I mean, and it's insane, and it's going to happen. And we haven't even hit that learning curve yet. So we're still so early in the adoption of this. But I think it's incumbent upon, and it's why I take this very seriously. I think that decentralization is possibly the greatest economic innovation since double entry accounting. And so it has so much potential, but it can also be squandered. And so it's just like, so I came from angel investing and venture capital, and I used to always it drives me crazy, because you want angel investors to support entrepreneurs. You want them to invest in startups, because that's what startups need. And that's how you create companies like Apple and Google. And you have these, smaller investors kind of giving them their seed money or their bootstrap round. And so, or their initial round to get going. But if they have a really bad experience, a lot of the angels are gone forever. If they invest in something and it's a criminal founder or somebody who's just not very good, they're kind of like, you know what, I tried it. This isn't for me. I'm going to put my money back in a stock market or something. And it's like, dang. And it's like the same thing is going to happen in blockchain. I want people's first experience with it to be a good one, so that they don't run away from it. That's how we have to steward this industry. We have to feel responsible to it. And so that's why when people write me and they're like, man, I downloaded Phunware, and it's like, it was super simple and it was easy and I'm already answering questions. I'm like, thank you. Like that's what we want. And so I think that's going to be incumbent upon people who really feel a certain sense of ownership and that kind of founder mentality for crypto. They need to act appropriately. They need to over communicate. You can find us on Phuntoken chat. We also have one for Phunware, FunFam, and me and Alan and the rest of the team. We're always available to people. We're always on there answering questions. You can find us. We're not hiding behind an avatar. We're not wearing funny clothes. Acting silly. Making the industry look silly. We're not out. Partying and drinking and spending money on boats and yachts. I mean, we're taking this very seriously. We're trying to build a business using technology that is wildly innovative and has so much promise.
Yeah, Naval Rav, you talked about angel investing. Naval Ravikant, one of the things he had said is like, when it comes to people you want to work with and so on, you want them to be intelligent, because if they can't think, you're not going to get anywhere. You want them to be motivated, because there's a lot of lazy, smart people out there. And it's like, if they're lazy and they're smart, and what you see a lot of projects, it's like, oh, he knows a lot of stuff, and then they just disappear and occasionally release a piece of code or something. But then most importantly, you want them to have integrity. Otherwise, you have a motivated, intelligent person who's just a crook and are going to steal from you eventually.
Who's a sociopath.
Yeah. So those are kind of the things you want to look for when you're getting into anything, especially in this industry. And that's what we should be putting forward to. And going back to it, it is unfortunate with the Terra Luna thing, because that was DeFi and was getting a lot of financial who are now going to be like staying away for the next 10 years because billions of dollars were just liquidated. And it was an algorithm problem at that. So at the very core of it, it was a very incomplete idea. So it is all about understanding when you're paving the way to try to do so with care, or else you will push people away from the very idea of what you're trying to bring into the world.
Yeah, and you're right. And when you said algorithm, it's you see it so often. People get kind of like too cute for their own good, and it's like we have this automated deflationary token that's monitoring this, and it's going to be a smart AI thing. And it's like, man, AI freaks me out. And machine learning can be used abusively, and these things can unwind so fast because everybody's looking for an exploit. That's not us. Like, what I'm saying is brands are having a hard time reaching consumers. We have built a platform that gives them specific tools that can make that engagement not only easier, but more delightful for the consumer and more rewarding for the brand. So I want to use blockchain to access all of those features and capabilities and drive that engagement. It's not overly complicated. It's like when we live in a world that, we're not going to click on banner ads anymore. We don't really watch commercials. We fast forward through commercials. But look, people still love to buy. They just hate to be sold. And so if you can find a way to leverage digital assets to incentivize behavior, everybody wins, because the consumer gets something out of it, the brand gets something out of it. And if those, what I call picks and shovels in our platform, are limited, they inherently become more valuable, because that's how you drive that really rich engagement. And so that's what we're really trying to do here. It's not trying to be, we're going to have this, almost semi-self-aware evolving smart contract that's going to, mirror off the wand. It's just like, come on, like, it just, sometimes like people are just too smart for their own good. We need it. And the reality is, because that's just financial engineering and really good algorithms. I want to do something in the real world. Like, I want something where, so we just launched at Atlantis in the Bahamas. So Atlantis, for those, people that don't know that are watching this, 140-acre island down in the Bahamas. They have 5 distinct properties. They have, restaurants, a casino, aquarium, all these great things you can discover around there. So we just launched our mobile, our smart hospitality solution. And immediately there was all this talk about, okay, what else can we do with it? Can we use augmented reality for scavenger hunts? Can we, create our own token using the Phuntoken infrastructure in order to incentivize people to do certain things on property in the real world? Like, that's what I'm excited about. Like, I want to be able to give kids a way to use their phone like Pokemon Go to find Atlantean coin, and then they win a prize. Like, just real world stuff that makes people delighted and gives them a better experience.
Well, there is definitely, and there is a slew of inventions and products and so on that were just too complicated to try to come into reality. There's tons of them.
That's right.
Back in the day, even with the automobile, there's one with the center headlight that would turn when you turn the wheel. Never caught on. Oh, great idea. Yep. Guess what? It's complicated. You know what's not complicated? The pool noodle. You know how great the pool noodle is doing, man? Doing fantastic. Multi-billionaire by now, I'm sure. The pet rock.
Brilliant. Pet rock. I was just about to say it. Pet rock is a pool noodle, man. Gosh. Yeah, man, so smart.
Yeah, and innovations is often removing the excess, right? It's kind of like molding clay in a way. And it's like, in there, you got to refine it. It's not just about how much can you add on, how much can you add on. And that kind of, if you look at social media too, the more bloated and more features social media things have, the more people move away from them as well. Sometimes the best things are just cut down to the core. Here's a simple concept, put it forward, and there you go.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right, Randall, I feel like we've ran through pretty much every topic we wanted to cover here. Once again, can you reiterate for people who are interested in dipping their toes in where they should go?
Yeah, so I would start with Phuntoken.com. So Phuntoken. So Phuntoken.com, that'll give you all the information about it. We try to be overly communicative. That'll give you social links. That'll give you history, background, utility. We have a great fact sheet for all those questions that everybody wants to ask. What's the supply? Is it fixed? Where can I trade it? Things like that. But then also, you can start buying it right now. Go to buy.phuntoken.com. You can actually, make a purchase today. You can also find it on Uniswap, V2. And then, really just follow Phunware. We have a lot of great content out, a lot of social content out. So at Phunware on all platforms, or at Phuntoken on all platforms. I'm easy to find. I'm on Twitter at Crowder Official. We try to be as transparent as possible. You can ask us anything. We're always in Telegram. We're always in Discord. But I would start with Phuntoken.com, and then also download Phunwallet on iOS and Android, and you can start to see kind of where we're headed. Right now, we've got Rewarded Survey just kind of as an MVP. We'll start rolling out Rewarded Video, Rewarded POI, and then also different ways to maybe use your Phuntoken for gambling or other marketplaces and things like that. So all of this is starting to kind of roll out over the summer and through the remainder of the year. But start with Phuntoken.com, and this is going to be the future of how brands engage with consumers.
Perfect. Well, Randall, I've very much enjoyed talking to you and very much enjoyed explaining everything, going through these ideas to the audience. And if anyone watching has any questions, don't be afraid to send them over and we will dive into them further. But for now, Randall, thank you so much for your time today, man.
Thanks, Michael. Really appreciate it.